Am I the asshole for not wanting to adopt my dying ex-girlfriend's child? I, 31M, met my ex-girlfriend, 29F, on a dating app 7 years ago. She had a son, 6 months at the time. She was with multiple guys and ended up pregnant. Still doesn't know who's the bio father, but it wasn't that much of an issue since she seemed like a great person and we had a lot in common. After few weeks of chatting and talking online, we went on a first date and had a great time. After that we just started hanging out whenever she could, and shortly after she introduced me to her son. Few months into our relationship, we moved in together to save money, since both of us were renting at the time. I started helping take care of her child whenever I could and we really grew fond of each other. He even started calling me Papa, and we just went along with it since my girlfriend didn't mind. Almost 5 years into our relationship, she told me that she wants to break up because I became boring and not an active person like I used to be. We used to go on hikes and travel around the country on weekends, and that I worked too much. It was a rough time after that and I had a hard time accepting it. I thought not as hard as having to explain a 5-year-old that he'll no longer be seeing his Papa. But I managed to get over it after few months, found a better job that allowed me to work remotely and had a lot of free time, so I managed to explore few other countries. Few days ago, I got a call from my ex. She said that she is sick and is in hospital. They removed one of her breasts, but recently they found a tumor in her other breast and will need to have it removed as well. She is scared that she might die if it doesn't work out and asked me if I would be willing to become her son's legal guardian and adopt him, since she has no one else to ask. I live a different lifestyle now, travel a lot and invest in myself, so I told her that I can't do that. She told me that her son misses me and would love to see me, but I said no again and she started crying and calling me names, before cutting the call. I talked to my sister and parents about this and they told me that it's a fucked up thing to refuse it, after all those years spent with them. I feel like trash now. Am I the asshole for not wanting to adopt my dying ex-girlfriend's child? Not the asshole. If my math is right, you broke up about 2 years ago, which is a long time for a young child. Of course we would remember you, but it's not like you're close at this point. The chances of her dying in the short term are pretty low. Letting her know you are not available allows her to make different plans in the longer term. No assholes here, but consider it. You did raise this kid for 5 years, but he hasn't heard from you in 2 years. Has there been any other father figure in the kid's life? Who's caring for him now, and are they willing to take him in after? Does X have relatives or friends who would take the kid in? What about logistics of her surviving cancer is scary, but it can be treatable. Ultimately, I'm not going to call you the asshole for saying no, it's not your kid, and it sounds like X didn't let you continue to be in kid's life after the breakup. But I'm not going to say the ex is an asshole for asking because cancer is scary, especially when you have a kid depending on you. It's natural to feel upset, anxious, scared, and even desperate and want to plan for the worst case scenario. Nah. You shouldn't feel guilty for refusing. It's also understandable why she chose you, and honestly, who can blame her for trying to make sure her son stays with someone she can trust, and someone that the kid loves? Her calling you names was wrong. But I guess she's under so much stress right now that her fear and frustration have probably taken over for that moment. Not the asshole. As much as I feel bad for the child, I cannot really call you the asshole for moving on with your life. It's been 2 years, which is a very long time. She took him with her without any regards to your or her child's feelings. That's the thing I hate. You know, you can love a child that is not yours, provide for the child, but ultimately you do not have any claims on them. Anyways, things have changed now and they are the past. Your lifestyle changed and you have your own plan which doesn't include either of them. If you don't want to, you don't need to change your lifestyle for them. Not the asshole. This is not your child and not your responsibility. It sounds like you were a good father figure while your ex was in your life, but as soon as she ended things, your responsibilities also ended. Are we going to expect ex-boyfriends to pay for children they didn't father, now? If you wanted to bring this child back into your life, then I would say go for it. But if your lifestyle doesn't suit a child and one who would be suffering the trauma of losing his mother to boot, then it isn't on either of your interests to do so. Not the asshole, but I would encourage you to really think about this, and not instantly rule it out. It's not fucked up for you to refuse it, but if it's true that she has no one else to ask, then you might be saving this child, who is getting dealt a really shit hand in all of this, from a really shit life. At least strongly consider it, if you have the means. But ultimately, if you decide against, it isn't on you. Fucking hell, this is rough op. I couldn't imagine being a father figure to a kid for 5 years then not being a part of their life anymore. That's the position you were put in. I don't want to call anyone the asshole here, it's a shitty situation all round. Not the asshole, so what happens if she survives? You're back in this kid's life, but now she doesn't need you, so you're cut off again. That's not good for you or the child. Am I the asshole for not leaving work to go pick up my boyfriend from the hospital? My F32 boyfriend M37 of 7 years got injured while working in the backyard again and went to the ER via an ambulance that I paid for since he doesn't have money. He called me later to tell me he was in the hospital getting treated for his injury and assured me it wasn't serious, then told me to come pick him up and take him home, but I said I was busy in the middle of a project with my coworkers so I couldn't leave. He said he had no one to give him a ride and as usual said no to Uber, then said my boss will make an exception for me, which might have been true, but I said I was sorry, but I'm fairly new to work and it would be unprofessional of me to leave like that. He pressured me, but I didn't cave and stopped answering his calls. I got off work, came home in the evening, and he saw me and screamed at me words like selfish and uncaring for refusing to leave work to give him a ride home and leaving him to fend for himself this way. I had enough and told him that this is the 10th time he had an accident where he needed me to leave work and come give him a ride either home or to the hospital. Also, he knows that I got kicked out of my old job for continuously leaving at random times to come to him for the same reasons, but this is my new job and I'm making sure I won't lose it too, since he doesn't take Ubers and say, "Just come get me." How hard could that be? It's not like I'm asking you to carry me on your back every time. He was still convinced I was wrong for not dropping work and rushing to get him home and said my true colors are showing and they ain't pretty. Like what? What does that supposed to mean? Anyways, he remained upset and insisted I prioritized work over him, which isn't good. Am I the asshole for not leaving mid-work to go pick him up after he already caused to lose my old job because of this? Not the asshole, girl, throw the whole man away. You are not a taxi service. He does not care about you, your well-being, or your job. It would seem that he is trying to control you through having multiple accidents that require you to drop everything and come running. I would not be surprised if this escalates to physical violence. Please be safe and plan an exit strategy. Not the asshole. It sounds like he's got an addiction to painkillers. Nobody hurts themselves that often unless they're trying to get a fix. If you want a healthy relationship, know that you're likely with an addict. Hold on, we're talking about a 37-year-old man here? And his comfort zone is so narrow that he can't take an Uber by himself for an issue that he himself deemed wasn't serious. Not the asshole. He needs to grow up. You didn't leave him hanging, you made arrangements for him. You handled the situation appropriately. Info. What the hell is this guy doing in the backyard that he's ended up going to the hospital 10 times in 7 years? Not the asshole, but why are you with this guy? His behavior doesn't sound healthy. You lost a job because of him and he screams at you because he can't take an Uber? Info. What does he do that he keeps getting hurt? Assuming a short period of time, less than a year, 10 hospitalizations is excessive. Even for a longer period of time, like 7 years. Something isn't right. The only question here really is why haven't you dumped him yet? Not the asshole. Not the asshole. You say he doesn't have money. Does he also not work? Sounds like a mooch. Maybe time to reconsider staying the relationship. Am I the asshole for enforcing my house rules on my wife's brother? My M30 brother-in-law M20, Sean, moved in with me and his sister after my father-in-law passed away few months ago. He is the private type and keeps to himself. He goes out and never say where he's going or how long he'll be out, eats at random times during the day, wears earbuds while me and the kids are sitting with him. See, all of these are uncool behaviors and a bad influence on my children. I've already talked to Sean about certain house rules I have and how he was violating them, maybe because he didn't, but now he knows and still nothing's changed. Last night, he came home late at around 10 p.m. I wasn't thrilled with that because he knew the rules, but he said that he was an adult and I shouldn't be policing him, but it's not about that, it's about the fact that he's repeatedly disrespected the homeowner and the rules. So I told him this: if he won't respect the rules, which are being home at 8, not eating at random times, and not using his electronics, just like my kids aren't allowed when the family is gathered to spend time together. He ranted about how he wasn't a child, my child, and called me unreasonable to treat him this way just because he lives under my roof. I told him it's not hard to show respect really, but my wife went off asking what was wrong with me to be giving Sean, who's still grieving, ultimatums and treating him like a child. I explained to her that I'm just making sure the kids won't be influenced by her brother's reckless behavior, and she laughed, asking if I think Sean being on his phone was reckless, but that is besides the point. She called me a control freak and told me to get off her brother's back and leave him alone. I replied that she's just saying this because he's her brother, but she said I overstepped and should back off and stop trying to control her adult brother. I asked her if she was happy with him coming home late, and she said she was sick of arguing, then went upstairs. Am I the asshole here? You are the asshole. Your wife is right. Why on earth should a 20-year-old have a curfew and have his eating times policed? Also, you made a unilateral decision about your wife's brother without even consulting your wife? You sound already like an overbearing parent, and this is towards an adult who isn't your kid. I feel horrible for your wife and kids. Try this parenting tactic. Hey kids, if you're wondering why Sean doesn't have to obey the rules that you do, it's because he's an adult and not my child. When you are an adult, you will get to come home later than 8 p.m. too. You are the asshole. You are the asshole. Giving an adult a curfew of 8 o'clock is insane, as it trying to dictate when he eats. Wearing AirPods at the table is rude, but I completely understand why he would want to tune you out, so he gets a pass on that. Why are you trying to parent a fully grown adult? You are the asshole. You're not his parent. You're not his guardian. He's 20-year-old and is not doing anything wrong. Get over yourself. Stop wanting to control him. Would you have the same rules if your parents were coming to stay with you? You are the asshole. To me this sounds like, I don't want her brother here, but I can't say that, so I will just making up other stuff. You children witness behavior they aren't allowed to participate in all day long. Do you not drive, because you children can't? Do you never ever drink a glass of wine or a beer in front of them because they can't? I get that his use of electronics is a bit rude, but telling an adult guest when to be home, when to eat and so on is controlling. Bro, you insane. Edit. Oh, my first award. Thanks guys. You are the asshole. This isn't only your household, but your wife's too. Your brother-in-law is still grieving, and it is not unreasonable for an adult to ask not to have a curfew, or eat when he is hungry. He can make those decisions himself, and you are overstepping trying to enforce this. The earbuds while eating I get, but he just seems stressed out. Staying out to 10 is not unusual for a 20-year-old and not at all reckless behavior. You are treating him like a child. Also, your children aren't learning any reckless behavior. They learn that you are insanely controlling and will continue to do so well into their adulthood. You should reflect on that here. He's an adult and you are on a power trip. Do you stick to all those rules yourself? 'Cause I sure hope so. You are the asshole. This is the most clear-cut case of you fucking suck I've seen on here in a while. He's 20 and you're trying to treat him like he's 12. Quit power tripping and leave the dude alone. Am I the asshole for telling my aunt to focus on her junkie kid rather than my life? My aunt, Deb, has 3 kids. One died from an OD, the other one is struggling with addiction, and the third one is just an awe. My dad's side of the family does not like my mom and I, except for my grandma, and we do not like them. They are quite conservative and like things their way. This weekend, I spent my days off with my dad's side of the family in another town. I did not want to go, but my dad was pretty adamant. I didn't argue with him, but I made it clear I wasn't putting up with any shit from them anymore. He said okay, and that was the end of it. First day there, everything was fine, but then shit went down the second day. My Aunt Deb was harassing me and my life choices the entire day. She talked about my education and said if she were me, she'd be embarrassed. She brought up my boyfriend and how she thinks he's probably abusing me because he's brown. She asked if I was planning on having a kid soon, with my abusive boyfriend. And so much more shit. Here's where I may be the asshole. I hit my absolute limit when Deb said, "I can't believe you work at the same place as your mother. That's effing pathetic. Do you really want to be like her? So embarrassing. I'm embarrassed for you." I looked at her and said to her to stop talking about my pathetic life. I told her she should be focusing on her junkie daughter and preventing her from ending up like the one that died. Everyone in the room was looking at me. I automatically felt like an asshole. My aunt called me AB and left my other aunt's house. My dad is pissed and told me to apologize. I haven't done that yet and I don't really want to. I know I went too far, but she shouldn't have talked about my mother like that. Edit. Thank you for all the replies. I know I'm an asshole for my comment, but I still will not be apologizing to her. However, I will apologize to the rest of my family for my outburst. I've suffered from years of verbal abuse from Deb. She has never once apologized to me, Not even after she called my friend an unhealthy pos days after she died from cancer. I will not be attending family events anymore either. Some of you have said I sound toxic and I do not want to associate myself with people who bring that side of me out. Deb poked the bear expecting not to get mauled. Not the asshole. Bahahahahaha. That was so savage. But also true. If she expended the same amount of energy helping her current addicted child, they'd probably not be addicted in the first place. Then again, they're probably addicted because she seems like a judgmental cow who tries to micromanage everyone's life. Not the asshole you don't get to insult someone's family and then get mad when they insult yours back. Not that yours was an insult. Just a really harsh truth. Not the asshole your dad is though. Why didn't he shut her shit down? Let him know it's his fault for tolerating her nastiness towards you and your mom. Don't apologize. Not the asshole. She wasn't expecting you to say something back and she couldn't finish what she started. Not to mention she's a racist. Nothing is off limits at that point. But holy shit, I hope it felt as good to say as it felt to read. Being the asshole doesn't make you wrong in this circumstance. You were totally an asshole right then, but the universe needed you to be. Not the asshole. While it may have seemed, and maybe it was, excessive what you said to her, it's basically the truth. If one of her children died from OD and one of the two that remains is using drugs, she absolutely should be focused on that instead of giving you shit and be racist about your boyfriend. FFS, Brown, equals abusive? Get the hell outta here, ol' racist auntie. Not the asshole, she dished it, but she can't take it. Sometimes you just got to remove the toxicity from your life. Not the asshole. She had it coming.